Assalamualaikum everyone. I am Manahil Remote Job Wali. I am a student of Rahan School Kuringi campus. Today with the most reputable person here. So his name is Nathan Segal. So we welcome our guest and get to know more about his life journey and experiences. So welcome sir. How are you?
I'm okay.
Alright sir. Thank you so much sir for giving me your precious time. So sir, first of all, please introduce yourself for my viewers.
I don't even know what your audience wants. I'm sorry you didn't tell me. You asked me for an interview, but I don't know what you want from me.
Okay. Okay, now let's move on to questions. My first question is on your screen. Can you share more about your journey into photography and how you got started with special effects in 1985?
Oh, it was a long time ago. No, I just made a decision to learn photography. I had a camera and I just started teaching myself. And eventually, just trying to think, one point I got some help from my father and I started a small photography studio, which I ran for a couple of years. And then the industry that I was in died. Um, had to do a bit of a switch. I wound up working with a team of photographers for a few years. And then I had an opportunity to become software instructor, but it wasn't about photography, not really. And after leaving that job, I wound up working as a freelance writer for a long time. And as part of that journey, I wrote many, many articles about photography and computer graphics.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your answer. So my next question is, it's fascinating that you were part of the multi-image industry. Could you tell more about your experiences and some of major projects you worked on during that time?
Well, that was a long time ago. That was 1988, 1989. It's really, I don't think it will be all that helpful to your viewers to talk about it, but I was working with something called an Oxbury Pro Copy 2, which was a highly modified Nikon camera using something they called pin registered, which is the same type of technology that you would have found in the cell animation industry of that time. And so I was producing still images, 35 millimeter images for computer controlled slideshows. And I mean, you're asking me to remember a long time ago. I mean, I worked on a lot of shows for all the major production studios in town. The only thing that comes to mind, and I can't remember the details of it, um, no, it's too long ago. But one of the major studios in town suffered a major camera failure, and they called me in as a replacement, and I basically saved the entire show for them. Um, there were a lot of there were three stands of computer-controlled slide projectors. I produced all the artwork for the entire thing, and saved the show. And but I can't remember who the client was. Might have been Woodward's back in the day. I don't recall. It was too long ago.
All right, great, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So my next question is, your book, The Coral Photo Paint, X4 Insider, achieved impressive sales number. Could you share some insight into the book's content and the key takeaways it offers to readers?
Well, the that book was the result of learning about internet marketing, and the original book that I wrote was called The Photoshop Companion. And I was looking for people to work with in what they call a joint venture. And when I went to the Corel Corporation, I said to them, "Look, I know my tutorials are a conflict, but I can rebrand everything I have to match your product." And they said yes, and wound up doing that project. It spanned 4 years, and they sold over 11,000 copies of my book. I made a little over $90,000 doing it.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your answer. So, what sparked you interest in photo retouching, and how did computers change your approach on it?
Um, I just liked it. That's all. I've always liked photography, and it was just one thing after another. I mean, the dominant tool at the time was Photoshop, but later I found better tools. Actually, the very best tool I found for photo editing, which is no longer available, was called Live Picture on the Macintosh, and even that was back in 1996. And even now, if I was able to get an old Power Mac and the software, it would still blow Photoshop right out of the water in terms of speed and productivity. It was a way better piece of software and still is. As to why they went out of business, I have no idea, because their stuff was way better than what Photoshop was, and it still is, in my opinion. But um, I mean, I do it because I like it. It's that simple. I make some money from it, sure, but I do it because it's something I really like.
All right, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for your answer. So, tell us more about your collaboration with Miles Simmons and your work on custom photographic image for stock photography catalogs.
That was a long time ago. That was 1996, and it didn't last for very long because, like, one of the things that's happened in the photography industry over the years is that things have changed a lot. Like back in the day, pin registered work that changed in 1989 when computers started to come on the scene, and then later. The thing that I was doing with Miles, that was very short lived. We only worked together for maybe a year and a half before the stock photography industry changed from rights protected to photography to royalty free, and it basically destroyed the careers of many photographers virtually overnight, including us. And we lost a huge amount of money because of that. And so that didn't last very long.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your answer. So, how has your background in writing for photography and computer graphics magazines influenced your creative work?
It's been sporadic. I've been doing it on and off for 25 years. Um, and done any for a long time, but I recently wound up writing again for one of my old editors, a guy by the name of Chris Main. And I've known him for 20 years, thereabouts. And he's uh, part of a major Photoshop network. And there's a magazine out there, like they apparently blended some magazines. The current magazine is Photoshop User, and I wound up writing an article for them recently. I hope to do some more, but they're apparently restructuring, so we'll see what happens.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your answer. So, my next question is, how did attending art school impact your creative process in both photography and writing?
Well, art school was about composition and design, and a major part of going to art school is it's something called learning how to see as an artist. It's extremely important, actually. And Miles was the person who was he told me you need to learn how to see, and I didn't believe him at the time, but years later I realized, I'm not doing as well with my work as I would like. So I went to art school in the middle of my writing career, actually, and it made an enormous difference. It turned me into it brought everything together in terms of my skill set. It gave me everything that I was looking for. It was one of the best experiences of my life, and because of it, I can do anything I want in terms of composition and design. Doesn't matter what it is. All I need is time, the budget, and the equipment to do it. And if I've got all three of those, then I can produce whatever the client wants.
All right, great. Thank you so much for your answer. So, can you tell us about your favorite hobbies or interests outside of your creative work?
Not all that much right now. It's just mostly traveling, which is what I like to do. And a little bit of reading, but that's it.
Okay, all right. So, what are your most curious travel experience or destination that has left a lasting impact on you?
Sorry, I got to look at your question again. I can't see it clearly. Oh, travel experience. Oh, that's Mexico. Uh, I got introduced to Mexico in 2004 by an ex-girlfriend, and I wound up really liking the country a lot more than Canada. And eventually, I moved here in 2014. I've been here full time since then. I have no intention of ever living in Canada again. And a lot of reasons why. Expensive to live there, very cold most of the year round, and I experienced a lot of harassment and interference from the Canadian government. And I said, forget it. I'm not putting up with a country that treats me like this. I deserve better. And I left, and I'll never live there again.
All right, great, sir. Thank you so much for your answer. So, are there any books or movies or artwork that have had a profound influence on your life and creative perspective?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about movies, there are a couple of movies I really like in terms of the subject. Well, not the subject matter. How do I put it? There are two movies that have incredible artwork that I really like. And one of them is The Shadow with Alec Baldwin, and the other is Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow with Jude Law and oh, I can see her face in my mind, Gwyneth Paltrow. But the artwork is amazing in both of those films, and it's inspired a lot of what I want to do going forward.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for your answer. So, can you share a memorable life lesson or piece of advice that has guided you thought out your journey?
Well, the number one thing that comes to mind in terms of writing came from my writing mentor, who basically told me to write as if you're speaking to a 10-year-old. So everything I write is from that perspective, and I avoid big words, and I do my best to make what I do easily understandable.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for your answer. So, do you have any particular routines or rituals that help you to stay focused and productive in your work?
Um, yeah, sort of, but not. It's not to do with writing or photography all that much. It's just I'm a major fan of coffee, and I have a ritual that I do every morning of grinding my beans, preparing it. In the last year, I invested in a few pots that I'd always wanted to have. They're made in Italy. The name is Bialetti. And since I've been traveling a lot, I'm not able to have a proper coffee machine setup. So that's the best I can do in the meantime. But yeah, it's just a ritual. And actually, one thing that I learned from a friend a while ago, we used to go to a restaurant here in Mexico, in Guadalajara. It's called Biscuits Obregon. And one of the things that they do, which I learned how to do after being there, is they make a type of coffee called cafe lechero. And and the way that you make it is you would have a tall glass. You get one of like the smallest Bialetti, which is like espresso, and you pack the reservoir full of coffee, and you make a really strong brew. And at the same time that that's happening, you take like a glass, I forget what you call it, um, can't think of the word, but it's a glass container, and you put whole milk into it along with a little bit of cinnamon, a teaspoon of brown sugar, and you make it nice and hot in the microwave, and then you use what they call a frother, and you froth the milk. It becomes really nice and frothy. And then when the coffee is done around the same time, you pour over the coffee, then you pour over the coffee or this hot milk mixture, and it makes this fabulous coffee drink, which I really like a lot. And so that's a ritual that I do before I work. And I sit down, have my coffee, and then go to work, and that's it.
All right, great answer. Thank you so much for your answer. So, if you could have a conversation with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Oh, geez, I don't know. That's something I don't normally think about. Um, I mean, in terms of photography, I'd, yeah, it might not be all that useful, but I'd want to talk to a guy by the name of Pete Turner, who is one of the foremost special effects photographers way back when I started learning about it, which was around 1985. And he was a very interesting character, and he produced a lot of really great stuff. I don't know if he's still alive, though. I mean, that was a long time ago. But he did some really interesting stuff, really cool stuff.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your answer. So, are there any charitable or philanthropic causes that are close to your heart? And if so, can you tell us why they matter to you?
Nothing really at this point. I mean, there are some things that I'm thinking about, but I don't have an answer for you on that.
Okay, all right, no problem. So, what's goal or aspiration you have for the future, either personally or professionally, that you'd like to share with us?
Well, the major thing that I'm working on um, is not photography related so much. It's to do with well, I mean, I did write about it. I was heavily involved in 3D for a while and a little bit of animation, but right now my major interest is 3D printing. And as soon as I'm able to get the equipment, I'm going to start spending a lot of time in that. Not writing articles so much. Just want to produce art, and I want to create some deals with architectural and interior design companies to create designs for them. Um, so in terms of what I'll be using, not entirely sure. I've got 3D Studio Max, which is a great program, but apparently a lot of people are switching to a program called Fusion 360, which I've only started using a couple of days ago. So we'll see. I don't know. That's all I can tell you.
Okay, sir. All right. So, can you share a significant personal challenge you will face and how you got overcome it?
Sorry, I'm going to have to put my glasses on so I can read. No, I'm not comfortable doing that. There's a lot of stuff going on in my life, and I really don't want to talk about that. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So, how has been your greatest source of support and inspiration throughout your life and career?
I've got to read this question again. Um, I can't tell you that actually. I mean, I draw from a lot of sources, but the truth is, I don't really need to look for inspiration too much, unless I'm looking at what I'm doing for 3D, which is Art Deco. So, I mean, and I mentioned the two films from earlier, The Shadow and Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. Those would be really good pieces for me. But other than that, it's just looking at Art Deco in terms of buildings and architecture and design. But that stuff's all over the place. So I can't give you a definitive source as to where I find it.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, what's a piece of advice you would give to aspiring photographers or writers who are just starting their creative journeys?
Well, I mean, if you're a photographer, the number one thing I would say to you is to go to art school. That's a must because you need to understand composition and design, even if you're not planning to do drawing or painting for a career. But it's really important because if you don't understand it, your work is going to be mediocre at best. In terms of writing, I'm sorry, that's too broad of a question because there are lots of different forms of writing, and there's no real way I can answer that question. Photography, sure, no problem, but writing, I can't tell you. Sorry.
Okay, sir. So, do you have any favorite quotes or mantras that resonate with you and motivate you in your daily life?
Um, mm, Motivational quotes. Actually, no, I don't. Um, no, I don't have it. Geez. I mean, there's one by Winston Churchill, but I can't, I don't remember what it is in this moment.
Okay, no problem. So, what are your thoughts on the role of technology in the creative arts and how is it impacted your work?
Well, I mean, I use technology all the time. I mean, I just use whatever shows up. Like a lot of people, like I've wound up in some major arguments with people who told me that I'm going to lose my career because of AI. And like this one guy sent me an image, and I remember looking at it and saw many things wrong with it. And I was saying, "Do you know what's wrong with this image?" And he's going, "No, it's perfect." And I said, "It's not perfect. There's several things wrong with it. Do you know what they are?" And he didn't know. And he kept trying to put me in my place to do with AI. And I said to him, "Look, man, you're an amateur. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not a trained artist. You don't know how to see. You've never gone to school. You don't know composition and design. And you're telling me that AI is going to replace my career." And I said, "Look, mate," and I was really angry and still feel angry about it, thinking about it. But I said, "Look, you don't understand any of those things. In other words, all you're going to do with this AI technology is create a lot of slick looking bad computer art. And you will impress your buddies and other amateurs, but you will never fool an art director or any other creative professional like myself because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. And if you think that you are going to replace me with AI, you are sadly mistaken. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not a professional. And like I said to this guy, "I'm sorry, but you're not worth my time." And he was really angry with me. And he said, "You're being really mean." I said, "That's because you are trying to put me in my place and destroy my career based on a technology that you know only about the technology, but you don't know anything about the necessary skills to be able to work in this career. And that's why I'm giving you hell because you deserve it." And he didn't like that very much, and I didn't care. But I've had this argument so many times with people in AI. AI is a tool, it's a useful tool, but it's not going to replace human beings, especially not at this stage. But it's like, when Photoshop showed up and all these people were talking about losing their careers. No, Photoshop and all these tools revolutionized the industry. They made life easier for so many people like myself. And do I regret it? No. But you have to you have to have the right attitude. People who say you're going to lose your career, that's a limited mindset. I don't pay attention to those people. I only hang out with people who have a growth mindset and see, well, how can we use this? And what can we do with it? And I never worry about people who say, oh, you're going to lose this, you're going to lose that. It's like, sorry, your mindset is limited. You're coming from the wrong place, and I'm not going to listen to you. And sorry, that was a bit of a rant, but but I'm very tired of people who tell me all this stuff because I know they're full of it. Sorry for being so blunt, but that's the way it is.
Great answer. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, can you describe a moment project in your career that made you feel the most fulfilled and satisfied?
Oh, well, I don't, can't really think of anything. I mean, well, the stuff that I did that I liked the most, which didn't make me a lot of money at the time, was an art show that I did on child abuse. And what was really interesting about it was not actually what I did, but I sent out a press release to all the local um, media outlets in my city. And one of them, Shaw Cable, came over and they interviewed me for several hours. And that turned into a clip that played on their station 24 hours a day for a month. And that was really great. I had a lot of fun with that. And it turned me into a minor celebrity in my town. I really wish I'd kept doing it. It was great fun.
All right, great, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey with us today. Your experiences in photography, writing, and creative world are truly inspiring. We appreciate your time and insight. To our viewers, thank you for joining us, and as well, stay tuned for more insightful interviews in the future. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a wonderful day ahead.
Okay.